Hi, today I'm going to read you a book, and I am at the Indiana-Michigan Power Building downtown. I'm on the square, the little plaza that they have, and I am sitting on Wayne Street where there's a lot of cute little picnic tables. So if you ever go to the Bar Street Market and you get some food, you can enjoy it, or pint and slice, you can enjoy it at these tables. And I will tell you later why I chose to read from this building. But the book I'm going to read today is called The Man Who Walked Between the Towers by Mordicai Gerstein. Mordicai Gerstein. And it says, the book is to Philippe Petit for his gifts of courage, his impeccable art, and his mythic sense of mischief. Once there were two towers side by side. They were each a quarter of a mile high, 1,340 feet, the tallest buildings in New York City. I'm gonna make sure you can see the pictures. There you go. A young man saw them rise into the sky. He was a street performer. He rode a unicycle. He juggled balls and fiery torches. But most of all, he loved to walk and dance on a rope he tied between two trees. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's so windy downtown today. He looked not at the towers, but at the space between them, and thought, what a wonderful place to stretch a rope, a wire on which to walk. Once the idea came to him, he knew he had to do it. If he saw three balls, he had to juggle. If he saw two towers, he had to walk. That's the way it was. Hadn't he danced on a wire between the steeples of Notre Dame Cathedral above his amazed home city of Paris? Why not here between these towers? And if you remember, 2 years ago, this Notre Dame, which is in Paris, had a huge, massive fire. Of course, he knew that, as in Paris, the police and owners of the tower would never allow it. You must be crazy, they would say. You'll fall for sure. And so Philippe, that was the young man's name, began a plan to do it secretly. The buildings were not quite finished, he thought. Maybe if I dressed as a construction worker. Early on an August evening, he and a friend entered the South Tower. They got a 440-pound reel of cable and other equipment into the elevator, took it to the unfinished top 10 floors, and waited until nightfall when everyone had gone. Then they carried everything up 180 stairs to the roof. So I'm going to show you the picture. So they dressed up as construction workers, they put the things in the elevator, then they went to the 10th floor, and when everyone left, they carried the 440-pound reel of wire up 180 steps to the roof. And there they are at night. You know about the Twin Towers? Before 9/11, there were two of them. So they're on the South Tower. At midnight, on the other tower's roof, two more friends tied a thin, strong line to the arrow and shot it across to Philippe, 140 feet away. So that's how far a distance they are between us. Think about this. You have to be 6 feet apart now because of social distancing. So think of that times over 20, 140 feet away. It missed and landed on the edge, 15 feet below the roof. Bad luck, thought Philippe. So they have to get the wire to the other side, so they're shooting it with a bow and arrow. He crawled down to the ledge over the sparkling city and got the arrow. So I just wanted to point that out. He crawled down 15 feet to go get this. And he's already thousands of feet in the air. To this line, he tied a stronger line, which his friends pulled back to the tower. To his end of a stronger line, Philippe tied the cable on which he would walk. It was 5/8 of an inch thick. So I always learned that this was an inch. So imagine, not even this thick was the wire. 5/8 of an inch thick. Sorry, I'll show you that picture. So there he is crawling down, and there he is showing the wire. His friends pulled the cable over to their tower, but it was so heavy that it slipped from Philippe's grip. The cable's middle plummeted toward the street, pulling his friends to the other tower. Pulling his friends on the other tower to the very edge. Philippe, just in time, secured his end. So you can see there's Philippe, and the two friends are like going towards the edge. And if you notice, you can notice the water. If you know anything about Manhattan, the Twin Towers are at the bottom of it, so they're near the water. They're on the edge. Oh, the other side of that would be New Jersey. You can see the Statue of Liberty there. It took 3 hours to pull the cable back up. So think how long this is taking. Frantically, as the stars faded, they tightened it between the towers. It was past dawn before they were ready. So you can see, if you can see the color of the pictures, it's getting lighter because day is coming. Philippe put on his black shirt and tights. He picked up his 28-foot balancing pole. All his life, he had worked to be here to do this. As the rising sun lit up the towers, out he stepped onto the wire. So there he is on a wire that's not even an inch thick, crossing 140 feet, and he's carrying a 28-foot pole. To the very middle he walked, as if he were walking on air itself. Many winds whirled up from between the towers, and then he swayed with them. He could feel the towers breathing. He was not afraid. He felt alone and happy and absolutely free. I don't know if I mentioned this, but this is a true story. So probably your mind is probably blown right now. True story. He is above Manhattan. A woman coming out of the subway wondering. Sorry, I think I have to start at the top. A woman coming, so this page is really long and it's so windy it's hard for me to hold it up. Let's see what I can do. So there he is at the top, laying. Or there, it looks like he's laying, but he's actually walking. And then you see the top of the towers, and you can see, maybe, you can see him on the towers crossing. Then you go all the way down and you can see all the people staring up, pointing. So I'm gonna have to hold this page because it's so windy. But it says, a woman coming from the subway might have been the first to see him. Look, someone's walking on the wires between the towers. Everyone stopped and looked up. They gasped and stared. It was astonishing. It was terrifying and beautiful. A quarter of a mile high up in the air, someone was dancing. Police saw it too. Imagine if you just saw that one day. Remember, this is a true story. Officers rushed to the roofs of the towers. "You're under arrest," they shouted through the bullhorns. Philippe turned and walked the other way. Who would come and get him? For almost an hour, back and forth, he danced, he walked, he danced, he ran, and knelt in a salute upon the wire. So, good point. He's like, come and get me. He even lay down to rest. The city and harbor spread beneath him. The skies surround him. Seagulls flew under and over. As long as he stayed on the wire, he was free. So he literally laid, oh, now the sun's going down. He literally laid on the wire. Remember, that rope is, or that wire is not even an inch thick. When he felt completely satisfied, he walked back to the roof and held out his wrist for the handcuffs. They brought him to court. The judge sentenced him to perform in the park for the children of the city. So he had a punishment, but all he had to do was perform windy, guys. Spinning the hat on his nose. Well, I'm gonna finish it. Try to hurry. He did happily. During his performance, some boys playingly. I'm gonna start this page again. This he did happily. Though during his performance, some boys playing on his wire jerked it, and Philippe fell. But he caught himself. If you can tell, they are at Central Park. I can't remember the name of this castle, but you can go in it. I went up it once. It's in Central Park. There's a big lake around it, and then some really nice houses and apartment buildings. Not houses, apartment buildings. Now the towers are gone because you know of 9/11. So the 9/11 where the planes crashed, those were the towers he walked across. But in memory, as if imprinted on the sky, the towers are still there. And part of the memory is that joyful morning, August 7th, 1974, when Philippe Petit walked between them in the air. So I just like this book because 9/11 is a very horrific event, but I think this helps us remember that day, but also, like they said, some memories of the World Trade Center. And it's just a really cool story because it's based on truth. So I want to tell you why I chose to read from here. So I am at, let's see if I can show you how tall it is. Oh, I lost my paper. Hold on. So I am at the Indiana-Michigan Power Building downtown, and it is the tallest building in Fort Wayne. So I wrote down it is 442 feet tall and 27 floors. So to put that in perspective, when Philippe Petit walked across the Twin Towers, that was 110 floors. It was the tallest building in the world at that time. They said New York, but tallest building in the world at that time. It had surpassed the Empire State Building, and it was 1,728 feet. So over, what would that be? 1,300 feet taller. Now, to blow your mind even more, the tallest building now is 1,000 feet taller than the World Trade Center, and it's the Burj Khalifa, and it's in Dubai, and it's 2,716 feet. I can't even imagine how tall that is. So, just to put that in perspective, so 442, even though this is a tall building, the one in New York City was 1,728, and the one now, which is now the tallest building in the world, is 2,716 feet. So, and just to kind of go over what Philippe Petit did, so remember, he crossed 140 feet on a wire that was not even this thick, or this thick, I guess however you want to look at, that thick, carrying a 28-foot pole. And not only did he walk across it, which is still amazing, he even laid down. And if you search this, there you can find some news clips, and they show, actually I'll try to put a link at the bottom, you can see the actual news footage of them in the helicopters that do the traffic reports. They were like driving or flying past, and they saw him. So you can see the actual news report from that day in the 1970s. So again, that book is The Man Who Walked Between the Towers, and it's just a good way to remember 9/11 and all the people who lost their lives. And behind me is an American flag, and I didn't even do that on purpose. That was just a really cool coincidence. So hopefully today you're remembering all of those people who lost their lives, and just the American spirit that came from that day. Have a good day. Bye.